On this episode, we're going full send. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Hello, welcome to Road to the F1. I'm Paul Anderson. We've had a bit of a break due to quarantine, but we're back with a bang. Quite literally. So on this series, we're meeting people, we're driving their cars, we're reviewing it, and we're reaching out into the social media universe like this, with the goal of getting up to the McLaren F1. But we cannot do that without your help. So, if you'd like to see your car on the show, you can send us a DM, or you can hit me up with an email, roadtothef1@gmail.com. So a big thank you to Connor, who's lent me his car for a few hours so we can work our way there. The car in question is a 2012 Fiat 500 Abarth. And yes, it is pronounced Abarth. The H is silent. I've always had a thing for small cars. MGs, Triumphs, Golfs, Fiats. I like them all. I don't know why, but I just do. And this one is no exception. So the Fiat 500 Abarth edition is basically the top tier of the 500 lineup, and it's really been revised quite a bit over a standard 500. Now, Connor's car is not a stock 500, as I'm sure you can imagine, just from the sound alone. He has had it modified to an extent, which makes it a little bit more fun to drive. But we'll get there eventually. Let's start with the looks of the Abarth. I just said it myself, the Abarth. The outside styling of the Abarth, they really changed quite a bit to give it a more aggressive look than the standard 500. It has a rear spoiler at the back. It has a diffuser. I don't know the physics behind it. I highly doubt that diffuser does anything with a car this size, but it looks pretty cool. It's got the Abarth exhaust tips. There's some side skirts. The entire car was lowered by about half an inch. With the add-ons and the mods that have been done to this car, it's even lower than that. It does have Bilstein shocks, which is a bit of a firm ride, lowering it even more. The front end of the car, the whole bumper is different. They had to make a larger bumper. It's about 2.5 inches or so larger than everything vibrates in this car. It's a little bit longer than the standard bumper to accommodate the two intercoolers they have mounted low in the front of the bumper. Overall, the whole look is a lot more aggressive than just the standard 500. And the front end has a lot more air intakes too. And all of the air intakes are functional, unlike a lot of other vehicles with some fake ones. So if you're into that sort of thing, all of these air intakes are functional, so you don't need to get upset. The coolest thing about it is that a Abarth badge on the front actually doubles as an air intake, which is kind of neat. I've never seen that before. And there's these Abarth badges all over the place. The wheels have Abarth badges. There's the Abarth badge on the front. This car's got a huge Abarth decal across the front window in case you forgot that you're driving one. All in all, it's a very nice looking car and a nice step up from the standard base 500. The interior of the car is actually quite nice. It's a lot more spacious than I thought it was going to be. I was really expecting this to be a tight squeeze for a tall guy such as myself, but I actually fit quite comfortably in here. The seats are a little bit wide. They could be a bit more snug for support, but they are nice looking seats. Now, technically the Fiat, this 500, it is a 4-seater, but I gotta be honest, this car has had the back seat removed, but even if it was back there, it's a glorified 2-seater. There's really no room for a normal sized adult back there. There really isn't. but for two adults up front, it's actually quite comfortable. Something kind of funny, I think, there's only one armrest. There's two seats, but only one armrest. So if you're the passenger, you're either fighting for elbow space with the driver or you're SOL and your elbows are hanging loose. One thing I'm not crazy about here is the instrument cluster. From a design standpoint, it's beautiful. It's really creative. They came up with the design of having the speedometer on the outside, the tach on the inside, all kind of integrated into the same gauge. It looks very cool. However, functionally, it's really very difficult to read. I've been driving this around for about an hour or so now, and I've never really been entirely certain how fast I'm driving. There is a digital readout of the speedometer as well, but it is so difficult to read that it may as well not even be there. The shifter is mounted rather uniquely up on the center console rather than down on the floor, which actually is kind of nice. It's nice to have it that close to the steering wheel. It's very comfortable. I wasn't so sure how it was going to be before I got in here, but it's actually quite comfortable. The shifter itself, the gears are honestly kind of vague. There's not a lot of feel in the shifter for my taste. I'm never entirely certain which gear I'm about to go into. The pedals in the car are nicely placed as well. The clutch hinge is a bit funny. It feels more like you're pushing down rather than pushing out, so it's a bit of an adjustment for that. Ooh, some people are going on a Porsche tour. Now, one thing a lot of people might not know about with this car is your electronic stability control. There's a little button to turn it off. You press it. The dashboard says ESC off. However, that's only really partially off. If you hold this button down for approximately 10 seconds, there we go. Now the ESC is fully off, and that is when you can start having a little bit of fun. Woo! Oh shit. Ah, funny. So they also improved the engine by a fair margin, 60% margin. So the standard 500 engine is your 1.4 liter 4-cylinder. Turns out 101 horsepower, not particularly impressive. This one, with Fiat's multi-air technology and wider intake and the intercoolers and the turbocharger, turns out 160 horsepower. With the Euro compulsion kit, the owner of this car thinks it probably puts out closer to 200 horsepower, which is nuts. From the factory, this car does not have a muffler. It helps this little 4-cylinder engine to sound just fantastic. With the mods on this, he's got a catless downpipe, a different intake, completely changing everything. So it's really quite loud, quite aggressive. It's got those pops and bangs. I think I'm a little bit too old to be enjoying pops and bangs. From the inside, it's kind of fun. From the outside, a lot of people hate them. And on a day-to-day basis, I am one of them. But when you're inside the car, honestly, you don't really even notice it. Everything in this car vibrates. It's such a stiff ride, but this is a lot of fun to drive. And when the boost kicks in, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! is such a treat. I can see why all of the reviews I've seen, everybody's got a big smile on their face, because this is just a blast. It's small, the power's not over the top, but it's all you need for a car this size. Even with what we do have, I've managed to have a ton of fun with it today. I don't know how I feel about the pops as a 41-year-old man, way past my time for something like that, but it's a little bit of fun for a little squirt. There we go. So that's it. The 2012 Fiat 500 Abarth. That's clapped out. It's slammed. It's dope. It's a bunch of things. I'm never going to say those words again in my life. I feel gross just saying it. On a scale of 1 to F1, my completely arbitrary scale of 1 to F1 based on how I'm feeling in the moment, I'm going to give this car a 3. Why 3? Why not? It's small, it's powerful for its size, it's loads of fun to drive, but this car, it's really stiff ride. It vibrates like crazy. Everything vibrates. But it's lots of fun to throw in the curves. And that's what makes this car fun. So I'm going to drive this around for a little bit more, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.